Wills and trusts, they both help you plan for the future, but they work in very different ways. Today, I'm joined by Deidre Von Rock of Von Rock Law in San Francisco. Deidre is a hugely experienced estate planning attorney who will explain the key differences and help you figure out which option might be better for you. So, Deidre, in plain language, what is the difference between a will and a trust?
Sure. A will is a document that simply advises the public and the court where you want your assets to go after your death. In order for those assets to be distributed according to your intent, a probate process, which we'll discuss later, has to take place through a court. A trust is a document that really is an agreement between you, yourself, and you, or you and a spouse that says, we don't want our beneficiaries to have to go through probate court, so we are going to hold our assets in this trust during our lifetime so that privately we can state our intentions and have this administered outside of court after we're gone.
Right. And could you give me a situation where someone might choose a trust instead of just having a will?
In California, that would be just about any situation where you have an estate that's worth more than about $200,000. So for example, if you own a home and in San Francisco, it's easily going to be worth $2 million, regardless of whether there's a mortgage. If that had to go through probate, it would take about 2 years for the court to get through the process. And the cost would be well into the six figures because of how the legal fees are established in the state of California. If you had held that house in a trust, it could be distributed within months of your death outside of court with very minimal legal fees. So there's, in California at least, there's really not a question as to what the preferable mode of estate planning is.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine that applies to tens of millions of people. Those exact circumstances. Now, can a will and a trust work together, or is it one or the other?
Again, in California, they work together. So a will, if you're working with a trust, it's called a pour-over will. And what it does is works to pour over any assets that weren't put into your trust for whatever reason during your lifetime. So this will, instead of saying, I want everything to go to Deidre Von Rock, it says, I want everything to go to my trust. That will is still recorded after your death with the Superior Court, essentially telling them, thank you very much. We will not be needing your services because I was very smart in putting this all in a trust. The trust then holds your assets that you intentionally fund it with during your lifetime. But also, if for any reason you acquired an asset and did not put it in the trust, the will pours over that asset into your trust. That's how they work together.
Okay, that's interesting. I'd never heard it put like that before. That's a really nice way of explaining it. What would you say, final question, what would you say is the biggest misconception that people have about trusts?
That they're for the wealthy, right? And that they're overly complicated, that they're only to deal with taxes, that they're irrevocable, that no changes can be made to them. The fact is there are a number of kind of trusts, but the foundational trust everyone starts with, the richest billionaires you can think of start with this, is a revocable living trust. And when we discuss estate planning, that's really the first step that we're talking about.
Yes, there's a very famous billionaire at the moment who just found out that an irrevocable trust is an irrevocable trust.
Turns out it is, yes.
Yes. It doesn't matter how much money you've got to throw at it.
Exactly.
So thanks, Deidre, for clarifying the differences between wills and trusts. If you'd like to find out more, you can speak to Deidre and her team at Von Rock Law. Contact details for the firm are in the description below this video. Deidre, thanks again for your insight, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, Dominic.